Hey, welcome to Beat Everyone. I'm Ben Flanagan with AL.com. Thanks to Matt Scalisi for sitting in on the last episode for me. Today we welcome back AL.com sports columnist. You know him, you love him, our good friend, Joe Goodman. Joe, good to see you, man. How are you?
Good, dude.
I love your work, man. You know that, I think. It makes you feel a certain way. And I know that you get a lot of feedback from readers. I'm sure a broad spectrum of it. As a columnist, I can't imagine like what that's like day to day. But you wrote a really interesting column this week about corruption in college sports. You singled out football and basketball. We'll get there in just a few minutes, but I want to start with this. So, Joe, the people know this, but you wrote a book a few years ago called "We Want Bama," and that was, about arguably the greatest college football team of all time. But that phrase became so common as this refrain from other schools. They reinforced Alabama as the standard in college football. You win a few games, you build some momentum, you finally have the confidence to take it to the next level. You want to prove it to the world that you're ready to play Bama and be the best. But I thought about that book title in you because things have changed since that 2020 season. And so here's my question, Joe. I'll put it as flatly, broadly as I can. Does anybody respect Alabama football anymore, or at least right now?
Oh yeah, people respect Alabama still so much to the point that they're just loving the fact that Alabama right now is having some trouble adjusting to the NIL era. I mean, Alabama's always going to be Alabama, okay? They got the most national titles. They got the two greatest coaches of all time. There's a mystique about Alabama that no one else has in college football. And people might want to say they disrespect Alabama right now, but that's just really because they're still looking up at Alabama in a certain way. Yeah, like I said, man, Alabama's just going to be Alabama.
Well, Kalen DeBoer, he's got 20 wins in his first two seasons, 20 or 21 wins or something like that in his first two seasons. He's beaten Kirby Smart twice. He played for the SEC championship last year. He made the college football playoff in his second year, went to the quarterfinal. He's a good recruiter. So by any logical measurement, Alabama is on the right path from year one to year two. So you have to trust that the way Kalen DeBoer is building the program and the trajectory that they seem to be on, they're on the right path. But it doesn't really feel like that if you're listening just to the chatter in all these way too early top 25 rankings, preseason playoff bracket projections. And Joe, like you and I and so many other people, we know that that's off-season content and it's a necessary thing, right? But Alabama is seldom mentioned, if at all, and they're not really taken as seriously as any sort of national threat. What do you think is the perception of Alabama football right now?
Down. I think the biggest perception is that Alabama is a little down. They're not out, though. There's a big distinction there. Look, I went back and I was looking at a column that I wrote before the season even started. It was like 3 seasons. And it was when they had just gotten Ryan Grubb, and everyone was like, this team now has the piece that they need. And I wrote, like, is this team still going to be soft, though? Like, is the defense still going to be soft? Is the offense still going to be too cute for its own good? Like, I mean, that's kind of what we got this last season. It's just this element of toughness that wasn't there. You can't tell me that Indiana had better players than Alabama did. That, I think Kurt Cimeti could take Alabama's players and probably win a national title. And that's something that Alabama really has to think about right now, going into year 3 of DeBoer. And what do they got coming back? I mean, who knows? Who knows at this point?
You lead into my next question, Joe. I mean, like I said earlier, you hear from fans all the time. What about the people who love Alabama the most, right? Like, let's forget about the outsiders and that perception of Alabama from the outside looking in. What level of confidence do you think Alabama fans have in Kalen DeBoer heading into year 3?
The biggest feedback that I get from fans right now is like they have questions. Okay. Like, is this the right direction that the program is heading? Are we doing the best thing? Are we getting the best players? Why aren't we getting some of these players and blah 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 blah. Like, I think at this point, everybody, like the real core fans, are in a wait and see question mode. That's the biggest way to put it. I don't think they're down on DeBoer. I can be completely down on a guy that wins 11 games. You can't. But at the same time, 38-3. I mean, that was gross, man. I mean, there's no way to put it in any other context. It was just disgusting.
Yeah, but it's all the nasty things that people say about Alabama fans come true, because 38-3, even though it's in the Rose Bowl, the quarterfinal is ugly, and Alabama fans hated it, and they didn't feel like a championship program because they weren't, obviously, and there was a gulf that separated them and the eventual champions. So how can you be down on an 11-win season? Well, Alabama fans, like, they'll admit they are down on that. If it's championship or bust, and they know that you can't win a championship every season, but what they want to do is compete for a championship every season. That's at the very least what the one and only Nick Saban did. And we know that Kalen DeBoer is not Nick Saban, and that's fine. But, the program seems to be in good shape in the sense that you mentioned the talent that Alabama had. And you said, well, what could Kirk Cignetti do with the talent that Kalen DeBoer has? So it's like, why isn't Kalen DeBoer doing that? Is Kalen DeBoer just not on the level of a Kirk Cignetti as a head coach? So
no,
flat, no. You don't think Kalen DeBoer is in his league?
No, no way, man. Listen, if Alabama could hire Kirk Cignetti tomorrow, wouldn't they do that? You telling me you'd stick with Kalen DeBoer? Come on.
Yeah, they'd want the guy who won the championship, right? Like, that's what they want. They don't see anything else but the trophy that the person is hoisting. It doesn't even really matter.
He won it in an Alabama way. It's the way that he won it. It was very old school. Like, Alabama's still holding on to this prideful atmosphere of cultivating talent the old school way. And right now, they're just in a quagmire of DeBoer. Like, they don't know what to do. But you look at Indiana, they've kind of recreated that Alabama model there. They're a tough-ass team. They just beat the crap out of everybody. Make them quit. That's what Saban said.
The word's toughness, right? Like, you keep using that word. You use the opposite, soft. Like, Alabama looks soft against a tough team, Indiana. We've heard former players who played for Saban say the same thing, basically, that they look soft out.
Do you remember the fourth down play that just got under my skin at the Rose Bowl? It was like 4th and 1. To begin with, they shouldn't have caught for it. They just should have punted the ball. But the way they went for it was like a wildcat end-around video game nonsensical crap call. And it was just like, I mean, if Nick Saban was watching that, of course he was. He was like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Just run the ball.
Yeah. Well, story of the season, they couldn't do it, right? And there was all that eye candy. I think there was a timeout even called to sort of like readjust. What do we do?
2 timeouts. There's Indiana called a timeout, and then Alabama called another timeout.
It was a disaster. It was a total microcosm of that entire game and what separated those teams. So it's crazy. The scary thing, I think, like from an Alabama perspective, is I'm seeing a lot of nostalgia out there, Joe. Like, I'm seeing, like, online or when you talk to people, reliving the glory days of the Saban era at this point, sort of like what you felt in that 17-year time between national titles when it went from Gene Stallings to Mike Dubose to Dennis Franchione to et cetera, et cetera. You're hearing people say, well, this happened in 2020. Well, this happened in 2015. Remember when Tua threw it to Devontae Smith? So I think, like, Alabama fans are kind of easing their way into that mindset, into this post-Nick Saban reality, because I think it was going to take at least a couple of seasons to realize that Alabama would never be the same. Nobody's ever going to have it as good as Alabama had it when Nick Saban was the head coach, no matter who took over. Kalen DeBoer seems to be a great coach, a really talented guy. He does have Alabama on the right track in the sense that he improved from year 1 to year 2. But based on what we saw in Pasadena, I don't know that Alabama can take that leap. And I think that that's the big question that everybody has right now, as you mentioned earlier.
I don't think Kalen DeBoer is the guy. Okay, flat out. Like, I don't think he's the guy. We're gonna probably find that out this year. Hopefully, I'm wrong. Maybe they win a national title. Who knows? But my gut tells me, like, this is not the guy, and I think that is what the majority of fans at this point are feeling the same way. I mean, like, he's just not the right. He's just not the right fit. He's not. Maybe he's talented out west. I don't know, but he's not here.
Yeah, certainly. It's an odd place to be relative to like what we've seen the past couple of decades. Joe, I mentioned the column that you wrote this week. The headline is, quote, "Time to open the books on shady college football," end quote. And your lead gets right to the point. The lead, you say major college football and basketball are designed for maximum corruption. You write about coaches who complain about the state of things, call for regulation, but if you ask if even they really want it, right? Like you use Nick Saban as an example, somebody who left the NFL where there were too many rules, come to college where he had more control, but you're interested in the fixes. Like even if, like you say, we won't see any sweeping new policies anytime soon. But, before we get to any solutions, Joe, like why is this stuck in your craw at the moment? Like is it seeing high profile coaches like Lane Kiffin and John Calipari whining about it so publicly, or are you upset maybe generally with the direction of the sport that you love and cover that is heading close?
Football. I love college football. The corruption angle has been a constant theme for me as a columnist for the past 5 years. I mean, that is why we are here. They will not make rules to regulate the sport, and it's been a slow burn. And so revisiting it this week during the off season is kind of a good time to just rehash where we are and maybe what can be done to fix it. The federal government is not going to snap their fingers and fix college football. Like, that is not reality. It's just not going to happen. I don't care who Nick Saban plays golf with or what Urban Meyer thinks. Like, those guys have nothing to do with anything anymore. I mean, the people that are involved in college football right now, okay, they do not want this sport to be cleaned up to a point where the window gets pulled back and you see all the mistakes that they're making. And that's kind of the point that I wanted to make in the column. And I'm getting that feedback from a lot of fans. Like, and I'm talking about Elephant Club, Tiger Town team, like whatever. Like boosters, I'm not going to name them. But these people donate money, and they don't know where the money goes. Like, they don't know. They ask them. They don't know. They're like, I don't know. Well, we're just putting it into a big pot.
You're not going to name the boosters, Joe?
We're getting 38-3 out of it. I mean, what's the money for? Like, where's it going? It's going to these players. How much are the players making? Who knows? We're going to tell you. In South Carolina, they're trying to pass this law saying NIL is going to be. You can't look up NIL anywhere. You can't FOIA request it. It's going to be all under lock and key, under secrecy, and no one's ever going to know how much these public institutions are paying college football. That's ridiculous. If we get to that point, I mean, that's just nuts. If the state governments come in and say, we're going to be paying these athletes millions and millions of dollars, but we're not going to let anyone know how much each individual guy is making. I mean, that's just so stupid.
Yeah. The piece you suggest more transparency with what the schools are paying athletes. I mean, you think that opening the books on what the players actually make might help college sports long term. But Joe, I mean, we're not going to see that, like you said. But what do you think we ultimately see? Like salary caps? Like, I mean, do you think
Why can't we see that? Why can't we see that? If they want help from the federal government, there needs to be a give and take. They need to be able to, like, all right, this is what these guys are making. I mean, they're going to be employees eventually. And for state universities, all of that stuff is public record.
Yep.
Like I said, you can go to the library and you can look up how much this English teacher's making. But they're going to try to say you can't see the salary of some 18-year-old diva who came from Thompson High School. I mean, it's so stupid.
Yeah. And in some cases, potentially players getting paid even more than the coaches whose salaries are all public. So I agree. Like, I am curious to like what kind of regulation you do think that we're going to see. I mentioned something like a salary cap, contracts with terms like you're not going to get paid unless you actually play. You're going to lose this amount if you don't play in the bowl game. Like, any regulation is obviously going to challenge levels of player empowerment. But what are some rules that you could actually see becoming part of this new reality?
None. No rules. They're not.
It's not going to be the Wild West forever, though.
It is. Why not? I'm telling you, this is the way that they want it. They say that they don't. Okay? But if you bring in all of these rules, people start losing money pretty quickly. And you're going to have to. And why did you pay this quarterback $1 million when he was 18 years old and he never played and he transferred out? I mean, that's a question no one wants to answer.
Yeah. Well, look, I mean, you mentioned that Sankey and others were calling for help from the federal government, right? Like, we know, like you mentioned earlier, you alluded to Nick Saban playing golf with Donald Trump. We know that Trump went on Josh Pate's podcast, right? So there's this sort of like mirage of like federal government interest in college sports, but few, including you, think that much is going to materialize out of it at all.
No, nothing's going to happen. These guys have to be employees for anything to hold up legally in court. Everything is going to be challenged in court. That's just the way it's going to be. No, every rule they try to say, ever since the Supreme Court voted that college football was excluded from antitrust law, everything since then has gone in the favor of the athletes, and it's going to continue to happen until they're made employees. Like, that's what the Supreme Court basically said without saying it. They were like, you got to get right and make these guys employees, or, it's just going to be, they can do whatever they want. I mean, and that's the truth of it.
You got to go read the column. It's really good, but
hey, hold on. Did you watch Josh Pate's podcast?
Not all of it, just clips.
Did he ask Trump who won the golf match?
I didn't get that. I didn't get that nugget of information, but I'm guessing who he would say won.
That's all I want to know, right? Who won?
Well, the guy who's won all the club championships, right?
Well, Trump is apparently a great golfer.
Right.
But I want to know if Saban beat his ass.
I don't know, man. Justin Thomas has been giving him like personal lessons in the front row at Alabama basketball games. We saw him doing that. So who knows? Maybe Saban's golf game has gotten better in his retirement. But speaking of court, what about hoops, Joe? Alabama's red hot in SEC play. It looked like a down season for a minute, but they're getting a little healthier. They're shooting it better, getting better production from guys like Aiden Sherrill. Most consider this team's ceiling something like Sweet 16 this year. What do you think? What's their ceiling?
I think they could be a Final Four team if they get hot. They potentially have the best backcourt in the country. The whole Bediako sideshow, I don't care about that. Like, as long as Sherrill doesn't get hurt, they can make a run in the NCAA playoff. That guy's a beast. I love that guy inside. And they got some other good pieces too. That Amari kid, I mean, he's a great player. It looks like a good team to me that's coming together at the right time.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if Aiden Sherrill can be a beast, but they need more consistency, certainly in the front court. The back court's taken care of. Like you said, they're one of the best in the country, but the front court is obviously what's going to give them problems. They've run into a brick wall the deeper they get into the playoffs when they play teams with elite front courts, and they're going to have to go through UConn. They're going to have to go through Arizona and Purdue and Gonzaga and Florida, and these teams that just take them to the woodshed when it comes to rebounding and scoring down low. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But
if you can make 50% from three, you're going to win.
Yeah, certainly. And if Latrell Wrightsel's hitting 7 threes a game, then Alabama's going to win a lot of games. But if they run out of steam there, who knows? So you had a line in a recent column, Joe, that said no one is expecting the SEC to name. You referred to him as Daddy Oates, and for context, you should go read the column. But to name Nate Oates the league's coach of the year, but we all know the truth, in quotes. So is the truth that, in your opinion, that Nate Oates is coach of the year this year? Is he the best coach in the SEC? Where are you at on Nate Oates right now?
Nate Oates is a great coach. I don't know how much longer he's going to be at Alabama because he could jump to the NBA. I mean, he's a great coach, man. Yeah. His schemes are great. The players play hard for him. He can adjust. He can make adjustments during games. Yeah, I think he could definitely be the coach of the year. Why not? I mean, this is a wide open year in the SEC. Who are some of the other candidates? Like, I don't really know. It's not Stephen Pearl. It's not Bucky. It's not Calipari. It's not Mark Pope. I mean, maybe it's Golden, but Oates, man, he's a great coach, dude. He's my daddy.
That's right. He is your daddy. Go read the column. You'll see why. What about across the state? You mentioned Pearl. Is Auburn in trouble under Stephen Pearl? Do you see him as a long-term solution there, or is this going to end sooner than we think?
No, I don't think so. I mean, they need to give him they took a chance on the guy, and they need to give him time to learn how to be a head coach. I mean, he was kind of thrown into the middle of it there in this weird Bruce Pearl situation. And so he got a team that, he didn't recruit any of the players, and the hardest schedule in the country. And, he's done pretty good considering, I think. It's a tough league. What do you want me to say? I think they're still going to make the NCAA tournament,
You're describing Kalen DeBoer in basketball form, Joe. Like everything you said about Kalen DeBoer applies earlier.
Not the same. The standards are not the same. There's in no way does Stephen Pearl have to be as good as Kalen DeBoer.
You got to go
make the tournament. That's it. Just make the tournament.
There you go. Make the playoff. Same thing. Another parallel. All right. Well, read his work on AL.com. Like I said, Joe makes you think, and he makes you feel a certain type of way. He's Joe Goodman. Joe,
warm inside. I hope that's the way it makes you feel. Nice and warm.
Thanks, Joe. Always appreciate it, man.